Greetings, lovers of sport. Thank you for joining me again for another race to the bottom. I've already done XFL 1.0 and the Alliance of American Football. Today, I'm going to go over the 19 teams that took the field for the United States Football League between 1983 and 1985. And I'm roughly going to use the 1984 breakdown of divisions. And we will just decide which teams first should make the playoffs in the race for the worst team in USFL history. And then we will go through in a sort of matchup style. So in the Atlantic Division, there was the Philadelphia Baltimore Stars, the New Jersey Generals, the Pittsburgh Maulers, and the Washington Federals. In the Southern Division, there were the Birmingham Stallions, the Tampa Bay Bandits, the Boston, Portland, New Orleans Breakers, the Memphis Showboats, the Jacksonville Bulls, and in the Pacific Division there was the LA Express, the Denver Gold, the Oakland Invaders, and the Arizona Wranglers. And in the Central Division there were the Houston Gamblers, the Michigan Panthers, the San Antonio Gunslingers, the Chicago Blitz, the Oklahoma-Arizona Outlaws, and the Orlando Renegades. So there were a few great things about the Philadelphia Stars, the Philadelphia Baltimore Stars. First of all, Jim Mora, who brought this piece of joy to the universe.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
He did bring that a little bit later in his life, but in year one, they went to the championship game and lost to Michigan. Was in Rutherford, New Jersey, East Rutherford, New Jersey, in front of 49,263 fans. That's huge. Sporadic attendance for the Stars themselves in 83, averaging 18,650, 84, 28,668, and in 85, 14,175. Next up, we've got the New Jersey Generals, which their attendance improved every year. Now remember, they had Herschel Walker and then Doug Flutie playing for them. They started in 83 with 35,000 fans at a game, roughly. 84, 37,716, and in 85, 41,268 per team. Ultimately, I think that the Generals have to fall to the playoff round just because they never won a championship. Of course, there's all the drama that surrounded Donald Trump as their owner, and in general, the Stars were a higher caliber team. Then we had the Pittsburgh Maulers, which played for only a single season. They averaged 22,858 per game, and that was in a 3-15 season. So that's nothing to sneeze at, I think. But they also go to the playoff round because they played only a single season. And the Washington Federals, who played in 83 and 84, and then went to Orlando to become the Renegades, and are also making it to my playoff round. So we've got three teams from the Atlantic right there. In the Southern Division, we've got the Birmingham Stallions, who were committed. They had 22,046 average attendance in 83, but then they improved in 84 to 36,850, and in 85 to 32,065, which was a little bit of a drop off. But they had some terrible weather in season one. They had a lot of stuff go wrong, and a lot of people showed up to Legion Field to watch them. I've watched several of those games online, and or at least parts of those games online, and it looked like people were having fun. Next up, the Tampa Bay Bandits. And they played all three seasons as well. They had quite good attendance in 83, 39,896 in an 11-7 season. In 84, 46,158 in a 4-14 season. And in 85, they averaged 45,220. The Central Division should have been fairly stable with the Houston Gamblers, the Michigan Panthers, the San Antonio Gunslingers, and the Oklahoma Outlaws, and lastly, the Chicago Blitz. But ultimately, I have to give a bye to the Gunslingers because they were awful. As we move into the playoff rounds, I am giving byes to the Pittsburgh Maulers and the Memphis Showboats as just two awful teams that deserve to go to the next level of badness. But in the Atlantic Division, the New York, New Jersey Generals against the Washington Federals, I've got to give the nod to the Generals despite the many scandals that surrounded them. The Federals, despite having Mike Hohanesi, the future head coach of pretty much every Arena Football League expansion team to exist, they were just a worse franchise. They wound up moving and becoming the Renegades. And so I think that the Federals and the Maulers from the Atlantic Division stay in competition for the worst team ever in the USFL. In the Southern Division, if you put the Breakers against the Stallions, I think the Stallions were the better organization. They were more committed. They were there all 3 seasons, whereas the Breakers were there all 3 seasons, but in 3 different cities, which is a cardinal sin in my book. And I'm giving the Showboats a bye based on just attendance, and it was unfortunate. Despite having Reggie White, despite having some real star power, they were a failure as an organization. In the Pacific, then we've got the Oklahoma-Arizona Outlaws against the Orlando Renegades. Now, the Renegades were definitely the worst of the 2 teams, but imagine being a USFL fan in Phoenix and having 2 seasons with the Wranglers and then coming back the next season having a team, but it being the Outlaws. That just is odd, I think. Next up, we've got the Wranglers and the Express. The Wranglers were definitely the worst of the 2 teams, and the LA Express had Steve Young and participated in probably the greatest game in USFL history, that being between the Jim Kelly's Gamblers and Steve Young's Express. And in the Central Division, it's between the Gamblers and the Blitz. And I'm going to go ahead and say that the Gamblers were the worst of the 2 teams, despite the fact that the Blitz didn't make it all 3 seasons. That leaves us with 4 very unremarkable teams: the Pittsburgh Maulers, the Orlando Renegades, the Jacksonville Bulls, and the San Antonio Gunslingers. I think between the Maulers and the Bulls, you have a pretty good, there's some good things there. The Bulls did lead the NFL to an expansion mood, which led to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Also, I think it was the inspiration for First and 10. There's a couple of TV shows that have referenced it, and it was fun. I'm going to do a video someday about the best video TV football teams and so forth. But then also between the Renegades and the Gunslingers were just unbelievably forgettable. I'm still reading Football for a Buck. I'll learn some more about the Gunslingers there, I'm sure. But I just think that the Renegades are the worst team in USFL history. Let me know what you think in the comments. Every pair of eyes is appreciated. Your likes, your subscriptions are appreciated. And if you tweet it, that is much appreciated. I will happily return the favor if you let me know. Thank you very much and have a great day.